Hello, lovely souls. This is Sheila Dracarton, and you are listening to Channeled In, a comprehensive and multi-perspective, insightful podcast providing you with channeled insights and guidance from nature and the universe. Even our podcast name was channeled. How's that for pulling it from the source? We focus on you, the listener. Our objective is to assist you in reaching an experience of self-love and energetic awakening. Through knowledge and guidance, we hope to take you on a journey of discovery and enlightenment, a journey that will open your heart and mind and link you with your soul self and with all that is. A deeper understanding of life awaits you as we embrace the opportunities and wisdom of the journey of life. Breathe deep, relax, and let us begin. The psychic side of ourselves. In this episode, we will cover the complexities and myths of psychic gifts. With this ever-changing world, we are all learning to embrace our instincts a little bit more. We are learning to trust ourselves instead of listening to the opinions and concepts of others. We are learning to hear our own inner voice. Join us as we walk through some of the pretty amazing realizations of psychic ability and misconceptions that have been suppressing us for lifetimes. Psychic. This is a word that has always bothered me, not because of the word itself, but because of the connotations that it has had in the past. For many years, people would ask if I was psychic, and I would definitely say no. I felt ashamed and totally embarrassed. I didn't want to be associated with what people thought of psychics. Even I linked the concept of fortune-telling and entertaining to that type of people who were psychic. People that were a bit out there and those that could not control what was coming into them through their spiritual and energetic being. My ego didn't want to be lumped into that space with those crazies. Isn't that absurd? I worked really hard to use other words to describe my gifts and to feel comfortable with myself in this way. One day, I sat down and I asked myself what I was afraid of. Psychic is just a word. There is nothing to be embarrassed about. This is the day that I embraced my abilities full-heartedly, and I stopped allowing the fear of other people's opinions to alter my opinion and belief in myself. Now, thankfully, our world today is much more knowledgeable and accepting of psychic abilities. In fact, most people I meet are open-minded and intrigued, if not highly educated and aware themselves. There is still much stigmatism and closed-mindedness, but that is continuing to change. Many people's first instincts when I tell them what I do for a living is to compliment me on how lucky I am to have such special gifts. Sure, maybe I was born into this world with a lot of senses turned on and turned up, but I have always believed that psychic abilities are something that we all have. Let me repeat that. Psychic abilities are something that we all have. They just appear in each of us in different ways and at different levels, depending on what our being needs to experience in this lifetime. I also hold the belief and have actually seen many people tap into their own psychic energy and increase or grow that energy to amazing heights, even when they initially didn't feel that they had any abilities at all. We are all vibrational beings having an adventure through a human vessel. This journey of life is about learning and experience so that our souls can understand from a different perspective that which they do not know. Energy is all around us, and we have the opportunity to tap into that energy simply by becoming aware of it, bringing our intention to it and opening to what the energy has to offer. So yeah, we're all psychic. We have special gifts and abilities. We all do. What we need to do, though, is to stand back and have a look at ourselves from a place of love and respect. We just need to check our antenna and alter ourselves to our observation of our own energy and to the energy that is. Have you ever had someone you haven't thought of for a long time pop into your mind only to have them contact you within a short time? I bet you have. What about, have you had a feeling about something and then that came true? Now, how about the feeling in your gut that something is wrong? Or, one of my favorites, the goosebumps of excitement when someone talks about something that is true or something that is to come. Psychic ability surrounds us all. We experience psychic ability multiple times a day in many facets. Our body is energy in motion. We are electromagnetic frequency. That energy reacts to everything that holds an energy in the universe. When we tune into and become aware of this energy, we learn very quickly how we are being influenced by it constantly. Reading the energy isn't necessarily the difficult part. Not at all. Understanding what that represents and how to apply it, as well as trusting it, is the hard part. Trusting. Okay, that's a topic that is for another podcast because we could speak about that for a very long time. But for now, let's just understand that that's part of it. So if you'd like to begin to open and experience your psychic abilities, one of the first things that I would suggest is for you to ground and center within your being. Stop the distractions of life and the external noise and focus on you, your body, your mind, your energy. Once we bring ourselves to a centered and calm state, then we can learn to become more conscious of the reactions and additions of energy to our own energy. Sit for a moment and try to quiet your mind. It's not an easy feat, is it? Try to give yourself permission to allow the thoughts to stop, to fade, to not be important. I know that's a tough one. Comes with practice. We are so heavily programmed to stress and worry and to be in the motion of thinking nonstop that we are rather addicted to it. The release of endorphins while in this state has created perpetual patterning of thought. It doesn't matter where your need to overthink and constantly think comes from at this point. Let's just let it go. Let's take control and just dismiss that mind chatter. Slow the mind down. Stop the mind if you can, and bring it into the present moment. Allow for your mind to rest and to just be. It feels good, doesn't it? So bring your attention to the heart center. Breathe from this space as you hold your intention to the feeling of this area. Now bring your attention to the core of your being, to your heart center, and breathe from this space as you hold your attention to the feeling of this area. As you breathe deeply, any tensions and stress in this area should fade. If it doesn't, then remember that you are the boss of your energy. You are in control. Slow that energy down. Calm that energy. With every breath, allow your entire body to slow down. Be mindful of how you feel now. You will feel more centered within. While in this space, you are now able to become more aware of what is externally around you. Your channel, or your antenna, will be more alert. Your being will pick up subtle shifts of energy more easily. That's because there's no distractions. Your body knows and it feels everything. So when you are aware and not avoiding or distracted, you will be able to feel that more clearly. So now, depending on how stressed you are and what is occurring in your life, this may take greater effort, practice, and time. Once we have reached this state, we then need to decide what type of psychic ability we wish to work with. Let's look at the meaning of psychic. Now, in the dictionary, it says, relating to or denoting faculties or phenomena that are apparently inexplicable by natural laws, especially involving telepathy or clairvoyance. So let's look at some concepts of different types of psychic abilities I'm not going to cover all of them, but we'll go through a few just for you to kind of get familiar with them. And if you're not aware of them, and also to assist you in understanding some areas that maybe are things that you didn't think about that you were capable of doing. Apportation is one of those abilities, and this is the ability to undergo materialization, disappearance, or teleportation of an object. That's pretty incredible. That may be not a great space to start, but hey, if you're adventurous, then go ahead and let me know how you make out. I'd love to hear. That's not something I've mastered as of yet, but if we practice, we can all get there, right? Now, another form of psychic ability is astral projection or mental projection. That is the ability to voluntarily project the astral body, the consciousness, that being associated with the out-of-body experience in which the astral body is felt to temporarily separate from the physical body. So being able to project your energetic body out of the physical body. And this is something that really requires, in my opinion, a lot of practice, but guidance. Please always search out a teacher that can help you with this. It's not something I would suggest that you just try on your own without a lot of knowledge or understanding behind it, because it can be something that is a little bit more risky or dangerous for your being without having the proper knowledge. So seek someone out to give you a hand with that one. And it's something we can definitely all do. Just make sure that you take the precautions in order to do it. And that is something that I have actually done. I was very interested in that in my past, and I worked a lot with it. So I do understand the depth of concentration and awareness that takes for us to move through and be able to complete astral projection. Now let's go into something else. Another psychic ability is automatic writing. I love automatic writing. This is the ability to draw or write without conscious intent. And it's a really great place to practice and start because it will give you that sense of belief and understanding that this is coming from outside your own being, that you are being able to pick up the energies yourself. Now we have dowsing as another psychic ability, and that's the ability, in the past, they used to use willow sticks to be able to locate water under the ground. But now in our day and age, dowsing is used for many different purposes. And one of those purposes is map dowsing, trying to find or locate things using a map, and often using a pendulum to dowse now rather than the dowsing rods, but both are totally acceptable and very accurate. So we want to have a look at that if that interests us. Now we have levitation, and this is the ability to float, raise yourself up. This is something, again, that I have not mastered yet, but something that I should spend more time trying to investigate and perfect, because of course everything takes time and practice, and we can't get there without practicing and putting the time and energy into it. Now we have mediumship. Mediumship is the next psychic ability, the ability to communicate with spirits. That one I have mastered, and it actually was a natural ability that I had as a child, and something that feels rather scary to some people, but when you complete it, you will realize that when done in the right way with proper protection and proper intention, that it can be a beautiful gift to give to someone else. When someone is suffering the loss of their loved one and you are able to channel the messages their loved one has for them, there is nothing that is more fulfilling to me in the psychic field than that. So premonitions is another psychic ability. Here's something I bet most of you have experienced, probably in your waking state, just having a vision all of a sudden, or an inner knowing that something's going to happen, or possibly in the dream state, because that's another way to receive a premonition. And this is the ability to perceive future events. Remote viewing is another psychic ability. Now, this is about using remote sensing, the ability to see a distant or unseen target using extrasensory perception. And as we know, the government has used this in the past to assist in concepts of being able to identify opportunity of the enemy or what the enemy was doing in war times. We can use remote viewing as a great tool to practice, to build our receptors in being able to receive energy or tap into energy. Telepathy is another form of psychic ability, and that is the ability to transmit or receive thoughts supernaturally. Mind reading, basically. So there's some examples of psychic abilities. Now, in my personal opinion, and it's just that my personal opinion, I actually believe that reading energy in any form is a form of psychic ability. Professionally, it is common to label psychics as those who read your past, present, or future. But really, as we can see from that list that I just gave you, there are many other means of psychic ability. A medium tends to be one who is communicating with beings that are transitioned into spirit. An animal communicator is one who reads the thoughts and feelings of an animal. And those are just some more examples. Now, energy is everywhere. Everything is made up of energy. We won't get into that science of the particulars of this because that is not what we're focusing on for the purpose of this particular podcast. What we do want to understand is how we can increase our awareness of the energy and heighten our antenna to pick up the energies that are out there. The clearer our energy is, the more pristine and receptive it becomes. If we raise our vibrational frequency, this aids us in being more receptive. We can assist in the raising of our energy by meditating, eating what resonates with our being in a healthy way, hydrating ourselves, listening to specific tones, using positive thought, laughing. The list is expansive, and we will touch on this as a topic with more depth in a future podcast. For now, we can understand that when we raise our personal vibration, we become more in tune, more alert to the energies that are available to us. Another very important thing that we need to do is to hold our intentions strongly and clearly. What energy are we looking to tap into? For example, I want to tap into the energy of a particular living person. Since we are all made up of energy, and there is no time or space in energy, then we can hold the intention for our energy to open to their energy. In doing so, we allow our being to be a surrogate to receive that energy. This allows us to decipher it or read it. There's a really wonderful exercise I like to get my students to do that really tends to blow their minds. I call it the name game. This is where I give them a name and then I ask them to tap into the energy of that person and tell me what they receive on that person. It can be a feeling or emotion, a like or a dislike that the person has, a situation that they are experiencing, something to do with their physical health, mental state, or emotional well-being. What can come up is like really totally endless. So you can practice this with someone else if you choose. Just always hold respect and honor the privacy of others. I always start by asking for permission to the soul or to the energy to be able to read it, even when I have permission from the person themselves. When you ask the soul and there is no hesitation or no feeling of block, then you can proceed. We always want to hold our intentions in a helpful and positive way. It is really difficult to get out of our own way and away from the intrusions and blocking of our own ego. In order to do that, we simply don't give the ego any power. No attention equals no power. If you believe in this, then it will work. And if you don't, then it won't. It's that simple. Because you're the one deciding. You are controlling your energy. your antenna. Just allow and accept what comes. If nothing comes, then ask a question to the person's energy. For example, what is your general mood? Or what is your personality? Maybe what is your physical state? Or what are your health issues? Then accept what comes. Look for validation from this person who has agreed to do this experiment with you. Each of these factors will require some practice, and that will take time. It will be different for each person, as we are all different and at different levels when it comes to picking up energy. So that's just one example of how you can work with and develop your own psychic abilities. There are hundreds of different exercises, examples, and methods that we could use. Some further research, education, and a good teacher or guide can always be very beneficial. One of the things that we should mention at this point, too, is the need to protect ourselves. And by protection, it just means that we hold the intention that we are safe from anything we do not wish to enter our energy field, that we are safe from negative influences or energies. There are a multitude of different ways to hold protection around the self. And one easy way to do this in a common way is to create or imagine or sense an energetic white bubble of light around our being. If you don't have a way to protect yourself now, try that one because it is very effective. Just sit, imagine, or hold the intention that you are surrounded by a bubble of white light energy, knowing that nothing can penetrate that bubble without your permission. This will keep you safe from negative energies or influences that you don't want in your energy field. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that we all receive the energy in different ways. We can be clairvoyant, which is clear seeing, clairaudient, which is clear hearing, clairsentient, which is clear feeling, or claircognizant, which is clear knowing. We will typically show signs of one of these clairs as being stronger than the rest. When I was young, I was more prominent as a clairsentient. This is still my go-to and my strongest clair, but I do have the ability to utilize all clairs to extract or read the energy. I find that depending on what type of energy I am reading, the priority of the clair will shift so that I get the best read. Don't ask me how I managed to do that. It's just something that formed naturally over time, and also that I became more aware of when I started to understand the difference in how one can and does receive the energy. So I want to give you a little personal story about my psychic abilities. Maybe I'll give you two. Now, one that comes to mind, when I was very young, I think I was about 12, but I was roller skating. Yes, that's how old I am. Let's just not think about that. Let's think about the context of the story. And we were out roller skating. We were coming back, and I was with a few friends that day. And all of a sudden, an ambulance came up from behind us and passed us. In that moment, everything in my being literally freaked out, and I began to feel and see images of a young boy drowning in the lake. I started to scream and I started to run, and my friends were freaking out. They're coming after me going, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I kept screaming, "There's a boy drowning in the lake. There's a boy drowning in the lake." And needless to say, I ran all the way to the lake, and I ran to the exact spot. And at that very moment, they were pulling this boy out of the water. I was blown away because I wasn't even in my right frame of mind. I wasn't consciously thinking about what I was doing. I was just reacting to the energies that were coming through me. Now, the boy ended up being okay, but my friends thought I was pretty weird after that one, and pretty much only one of them talked to me after that day. So that was one example of the psychic ability that's come through me, and that was at a very young age. Now, if we fast forward a few years, and not many people know this story because I don't really share it much, but when I was 16, I was actually engaged. I was truly almost 17 at that time. And my partner at the time, we had committed to spending our life together, and we had our whole future planned. We were planning to move away to another city and to get married and to begin a life. Now, about 6 months prior to what I'm going to tell you about, I started to have these odd sensations where my whole body would become paralyzed with fear when I was in his presence. Just randomly, all of a sudden, when we connected at a very heart level, I would feel the inability to move because there was this wave of fear that would come over me. This happened more than a dozen times. And I kept telling him that something was coming where I would lose him. And he thought I was silly. He thought I was being overdramatic. And he didn't give that any merit. But a week before an incident that changed my life occurred, he sat with me and we were sitting on a couch. It was raining. And I told him, I said, I swear something is happening. We are going to be separated and I'm not going to see you again. This is the first time he actually looked me in the eyes and he started to cry. Oh, that's making me emotional still to this day. And it was so many years ago. But he started to cry and he said to me that he believed I was right. He believed something was going to happen and that we would be separated. Now, with that ability, I wasn't quite sure what that meant. I couldn't read all of the energy and I didn't understand what the outcome would be. I only knew the feeling and the devastation, the energy that was surrounding these episodes I was having. A week later, this wonderful soul was in an accident. He was riding his motorcycle and he was hit head on by a car coming the other direction. And his life was taken. He transitioned to the other side. This was the most profound psychic experience I had in my life because it was so steadfast and it was so true. And every fiber of my being read the energy and knew this was coming. And I have to say that as sad as that occurrence was, it still is. It is the biggest gift to me because it was the catalyst that projected me into the field of psychic awareness and into embracing the abilities that I had at a deeper level. Mind you, it took me some time. I mean, I pretty much disconnected from life for about 6 months and did a whole bunch of crazy things that weren't healthy for me to be doing. But in the end, I came to the realization that I must have these gifts for a positive reason. And I started to look for that positive reason. So if you have psychic abilities that are natural, that you've been battling with, that you don't understand, or if you just find the psychic world just fascinating and wish you could build your abilities, I'm telling you that it is possible to understand. It is possible to be able to work with in a positive way. And it's possible for you to be able to achieve your own psychic awareness. And I hope in future episodes that we will be able to cover a lot of topics that can help you in this way. Sorry, that was a bit of a sad story, but food for thought. As you can see, the depth and topics when it comes to spirituality are vast. So let's finish more on a positive note by doing a direct channel from the universe on this specific topic of the psychic side of ourselves. So give me a second while I tune in. Now, when I tune into the energy in this manner, I am channeling the guides and angels that I have chosen to be my team through the walk of this life. When I tune into them, I am simply calling on their energy and asking them to come forward, to come through me. And in this particular occurrence, we're going to focus on the messages that they have about the psychic side of ourselves as humans. Remember that this perception comes through their awareness from the angle in which they look at things, and not necessarily from a human perspective. So sometimes when they're speaking, they make it seem like things are a little bit easier and more matter of fact than what they are when we are trying to walk the journey from a human and not from the soul perspective. So with the ego involved, it becomes much more difficult. So here we go. Let's see what messages they have for us. They're telling me that psychic awareness is innately inherent to the soul, because the soul is energy and everything is energy. We are able to pick up or understand the energies of everything simply because we are a tapestry of energy connected all by source energy. When we become human, we are injected with an ego, and the ego creates doubt. It creates misconceptions, and it tarnishes or warps our belief from the soul perspective. What we need to do as humans is tap into or divert back to the understanding from the soul perspective, from the soul energy, and put the ego on the shelf. As we do so, we will be able to tune into the energies that are already existing and that are everywhere for us to understand, to read, to enjoy, to evaluate, to experience. They wish to explain that psychic abilities can seem overwhelming, can seem a bit scary or frightening at times. But they want us to know that they are ever present. The psychic awareness is ever present regardless, and it is our right to choose to read the energy or not to read the energy. They're wishing to tell you that you need to decide for yourself, and only you will hold the answer as to if you wish to embrace those psychic abilities that you hold naturally, or awaken those psychic abilities if they are not already awakened within. They are stressing you choose. It is your right. And that is the message they have for us today. Peace be. You've been listening to Channeled In. This is Sheila Dracarton. It has been a true pleasure to have you join us today. Thank you so much for your time and energy. Until next time, embrace your journey, love yourself, and stay present in the awareness of all that is. Peace, joy, and light.